The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
Thank you for joining us on Farm Connections. I'm Dan Hoffman, and I'm pleased to introduce Mark and Ben. They are here to talk to us tonight about social networking and agriculture. Mark comes to us from San Francisco. He'll be on the phone. And with us in the studio is Ben Bickness from Chatfield. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, Dan.
And we'd like to explore a little bit about social networking and ag, and I understand you're a gamer. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with gaming and Farmville in specifics.
Okay, definitely. Well, I got involved with in social networking through Facebook in college, probably like 5 years ago already now, and it was kind of starting out or whatever, and everyone just got on Facebook at college, and then it just blew up, and I'm still using it after college now to keep in touch with my friends and use it as networking. And now they've also as Facebook has expanded and become more popular, they have gaming on there now, and so now they have games that you can play with your friends on the social network, like Farmville.
Is that your favorite?
Yeah, I like Farmville a lot, definitely, and probably because I have a farming background. I grew up on a farm, so anything that's involved with agriculture definitely has a special place, in my psyche, I'd say.
What kind of farm did you come from, Ben?
I grew up on a dairy farm. We had about like 300 cows of Holsteins, and then after a while my dad quit milking probably about 15 years ago, and we basically just raise crops, corn and beans, like 1,200 acres, and have beef cows. Transition from that, so definitely.
So when you go to Facebook, are you doing the farming that you would do at home, but you're doing it on the computer? Is that?
Some of it, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's it doesn't get as technical, but the basics are there definitely. Buying seeds, tilling the land. You have to wait. You have weather, you have to communicate with people. So definitely the basics of growing an agricultural crop or running a farm or having animals, you can work on other people's farms. They're definitely there, so.
Excellent.
They're represented there.
Excellent. I think we're going to ask Mark to weigh in. He's a software developer for this. Mark, I went to the website for Farmville, and I was astounded. One of the comments was, yesterday, 11.2 million people visited Farmville today. What's happening? What's this all about, and what has Ben accessing and doing with his time?
I think, what we see with Farmville, it's become, in a very interesting way, a social phenomenon where people who are on Facebook are attracted to the graphics and elements of the game, the Farmville game. But what happens is once they start playing it there, they really respond well to the fact that they get in there and kind of play the fantasy life of being a farmer. It is a lot less technical, as Ben mentioned there. It's very, very straightforward. You just go ahead and plow some plots of land, plant some seeds, wait a few hours or a day, and come back and then harvest them. But I think what people really like is while they're doing that, everybody kind of universally understands something about farming, but they kind of get to experience just a taste of it and the social aspect of doing it with their friends that are on Facebook. And, I would say Facebook is kind of like the extended neighborhood now, where you might know friends from college still, you might know from some, friends from your local community, or even maybe friends you haven't seen for 10 years are now there to kind of play with you in Farmville.
Does it become competitive from the sense of I want to win, or I want more coins, or I want more dollars, or I want more cows? What drives Ben back?
Well, what drives a lot of people, and Ben probably plays it in his own special way, which is, part of the cool part about Farmville. But what drives a lot of people is that idea of planting a set of crops, planting, a whole field's worth of strawberries, and then coming back and seeing what it looks like when they're all ripe and ready to harvest. And certainly when you do that, it costs a little bit for the seeds, and then when you get the harvest and sell it, you get some money from it. So there's a little bit of an economy game there, where it's kind of like, hey, how big of a farm can I get? How successful can I be? And then some folks look at it and say, since they're playing with their friends, they say, hey, come check out my farm. Look how cool it is. Another one say, well, my farm's cooler looking than yours. And so that typically happens when people start decorating with barns and other different things like that. So a lot of people play for different reasons.
Thank you, Mark. We're going to ask Ben about the same question. Mark, why do you do this, and what is there competition between you and your friends?
I'd want to say, and maybe Mark could weigh in if I'm way off base here, but on the general phenomenon on why this has become so popular and addictive, or what people are looking for, why they enjoy it and keep doing it is, I think in the last several decades we've been so our culture is continually sped up. Our interactions have become less and less, personal interactions, and people have a desire to go back to simple things that they don't get in their day-to-day lives. And communities were a lot smaller, and they used to be agriculturally based, and you had to communicate with things to get food and trade animals for foodstuffs and other things. And I think that they're getting it's a virtual thing, but they're living that vicariously through the game, I think. And so it's tapping into something that is within us all, like these basic needs, and then people can express them through the game and communicate with people. So I think that maybe that's why it's successful. I don't know. What do you think about that, Mark?
I think you've pretty much nailed it head on there. It's really touching something that's basically human about growing and nurturing things, and also being social with your friends. And you hit it, I think, also on the head, where it used to be, to survive, you had to be in part of a community that was, you're codependent with other people to make your farm work. And,
Mm-hmm.
If something breaks, you have to go get somebody to help you. You're going to do a barn raising. It's a community event.
Exactly.
And so that's a very social thing. But the other part is it's just that tapping into, I've grown something, I've created something. And I just think that relationship, there's something very human nature about nurturing a plant or animals.
Yeah, and I can definitely tell you a real life scenario is to actually grow something is definitely you feel pretty cool about it. It sounds pretty weird, but there's a sense of accomplishment in doing that, and you realize that it's not always that easy as you might think. So it is a pretty cool thing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, you raised a good point, because my parents had some farmland in Iowa, and my mother's mother had an active farm that we actually got part of later on. And it's not as easy as people think in terms of, just dealing with the weather or insects or maybe hail damage on your corn or something like that. So one of the things that, as we're making Farmville, we kind of looked at it and we said, yeah, there's real farming, but people really, I think you said it, they're kind of living vicariously through the game, kind of tapping into those feelings, those nurturing feelings, without having to deal with all the, the kind of the real life problems.
Exactly. They can turn their computer off.
Right.
When the storm hits.
Right.
So what's the longest stretch that you were on Farmville playing the game at one time, Ben?
Well, I don't know, but I try not, probably an hour or whatever, but I try not to go, too much longer than that. So.
Can you save the game where you leave off and come back to it at a certain point?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's gonna, keep going on, because you can plant things and then eventually they'll grow. So yeah, definitely, you can go back to it anytime you want. So.
Yeah, the nature of the game, it's a always-on simulation. So if you plant, say pumpkins in the morning, they're going to grow, and by nighttime they're going to be ready to harvest. We just have an 8-hour harvest time on them. But you don't have to come back. You don't have to be in the game for 8 hours. You just have to come back when they're ready and ready to harvest, and you can do that. But if you don't get back in time, and the ripe period passes, then they wither on the vine. And so then you have to deal with that when you come back. Let's say you come back 2 days later because you didn't check your farm, your pumpkins are all withered there, or whichever other crops you might have withered. So it's definitely a game that we've created for people to play in small bites and small chunks, but it's always going. And I think that's part of the other thing that people enjoy about it so much, is that it's always on, it's always there. It's something they can check in, 5 minutes during lunch or something to make sure their crops are still alive and growing well.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds very enticing. So it also would maybe teach the skills of monitoring and responsibility?
Oh, totally. One of the unexpected side effects that we had with the game, we found out later, is that a lot of parents were commenting that their children were coming to sit on their laps and play the game with them. And some of them were using Farmville to teach either just here's what happens, here's how you plant something, and you got to wait for a while, and then it grows, and you can see the difference between what it looks like when it's just a seedling and then when it gets ready to harvest. And other parents have told us that they're actually using it to help kids kind of learn a little bit about economics. You plant this seed, it costs this much to plant, and then when you harvest it, you get this much money back from it. So I think it's as an unintended side effect, it's kind of really it's going a little deeper and being a little more meaningful than we expected.
Yeah, I like when you said the unintended side effects, and like when I hear you talk, like you can draw so many analogies to real farm life that you can with this game, and one of those is time management.
Yeah.
And as a farmer, you are an independent person. You are your own boss. You have to wear so many different hats. You have to know you have to be aware of the weather. You have to know biology. You have to communicate with people, so you have to be a good communicator and a bargainer.
Right.
You have to learn how to time management, to manage your time, when to harvest your crops, when to do these certain things. So the analogies of real life, you have to know the stock market, the economy.
Yep.
To sell your crops, and the analogy to real life and to farming too is excellent there, And I think if we can bring more awareness to agriculture through something like this, excellent.
Yeah, I think, I always remembered when I would go to Iowa to visit our grandparents, the farm report, we'd always listen to that, and especially as it came time to think about selling. And everybody's like, what do you think corn's going to go up to this week or next week? Should we sell now or not? And I think you hit it on the head there, where you're saying, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you have to know. And this is just a very light and easy way for people to kind of experience it. And it's kind of, I think also the thing we found is that everybody around the world, because, the 11 million people that play this game, they're spread out all over the world. Everybody knows farming or have heard of it or maybe read about it in school books. But even if they're in a city, they want to kind of see what it's like. And I think it's a great opportunity for people who would never, ever have a chance to see or experience anything related to farming to just get a taste of it.
Mark, very, very interesting. And when you speak of side effects, I'm wondering if maybe those weren't some of the missions and visions you had as a programmer, and maybe it wasn't such an accident after all. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, what we set out to create is a really fun, simple, straightforward, easy to play farm simulation. Very light and very easy. And so the side effects that I talk about, they're just kind of like happy accidents. It's one of the coolest part about making this game versus some of the other games I've made in the past, is that because it's on the net and because it has a lot of social components to it, there are all these sort of emergent gameplay or emergent behaviors that come out of our players that we're just happy and excited to see. Now our job, of course, is once we see those, is to figure out, hey, is there something that we can help and we can change with the game or improve the game to allow that behavior to continue or emerge even more.
Do you have a profile of the people that play the game? Is it 80-year-olds all the way down to 6-year-olds, or is there a common theme of who plays the game?
Yeah, we actually, we do have a mostly female audience. It's probably about 60-40 female-male.
Really?
And the age group goes all the way from, I'd say 50 and 60, all the way down to, 3 and 4-year-old kids who sit on mom and dad's lap and play. So it's a very wide range of players.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
What are some of the other games that you or your company have developed, Mark?
Oh, we have a bunch of different games. There's Texas Hold'em Poker, There's Mafia Wars. There's Yoville, which is a social chatting game, kind of build your house game. We've just released Roller Coaster Tycoon, which is an amusement park game. So we've got a large number of them.
Interesting. And I also noticed 30,700,000 monthly active users.
Mm-hmm.
That's fabulous. How long a time did it take to get to that level?
It took about 2 months. We're about 9 weeks from release right now.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
It is. It's actually, what we believe and what we've seen other people say too, the fastest growing game on the internet, and especially the fastest growing game in the social networks. So when we talk about being phenomenon, what I think it happens is that the success ties into the agricultural, the farming part. Everybody kind of likes that it's something inside of people, plus the fact that it's on a social network, where when you play it, it's really easy to tell your friend about playing it, and suddenly different family members start playing it, and then it spreads to people's cousins and their grandmothers, and then friends from college see, and get an update from you that you're playing Farmville, and it just spreads very, very virally.
I like that too, Mark. That I think that it spreads like that too, and why it's so successful with a broad range of demographic and other cultures even is that everyone, and you had talked about this earlier too, is everyone understands agriculture or some sense of it, because we all eat food.
Right.
So it has to come from somewhere, and it's a universal language that people understand. They understand, the basic concepts of growing things.
Right. Maybe even if they're in a city, they just have a little, flower garden, or I think isn't it every kid in school at some grade grows the bean plant?
Yeah,
right?
definitely, for sure. I did. I know I did. So.
Yeah.
Ben, how do you use the game with your friends?
I use it just to, almost like we were talking about it earlier, but people used to sit around, well, not used to, they still do, but with board games and stuff like that, and we're a lot more separated now, and I think in today's society, as far as personal contact goes, we might not have as much time or take the time that we did. So it's an opportunity to, play a game with your friends, and communicate with them and talk to them and have fun, much like you would have done with a board game, but you're doing it virtually, which the only difference is there's not anything physical to touch besides your computer, but, most of the stuff with a board game anyway is going on in your head too, so. It's pretty much the same thing.
It's a fun game. You see the video, you see the audio, and there's things that move.
Yeah.
So you do get to see quite a bit of interaction. But maybe a question for Ben first and then Mark. How would you answer someone who would be critical of the game and say something like, well, that's nice, you're visiting with somebody a continent away and you're connecting with the game, but you're not even talking to the neighbor across the hall?
That's a concern, I think, and that's a good concern, but I think any type of communication is important. So I wouldn't say that there's a negative to it. I think you should talk to the person across the hall too, and talk to the person from another country. So I don't see that wouldn't prevent you from talking to the person across the hall. In fact, if anything, it'll improve your communication skills by learning to talk to people that you don't know. And if you don't want to take the time to talk to the person across the hall, well, that's your personal choice too. I think it all comes down to personal responsibility, and the game teaches you time management too. So, and if you want to draw another analogy to it, as a farmer too, you're very personally responsible for everything that goes on.
Sure.
And so if you're spending an unhealthy amount of time on the game,
your studies or your girlfriend or your family,
and you're going to neglect other things like that. So I think it's all about personal responsibility and time management, and those lessons, are definitely two things that you learn on growing up on a farm, and could apply to this game too.
Thank you, Ben. Mark, you want to weigh in on that?
Sure. I think a couple of key things is that Right now, exactly as Ben said, and you said that people maybe aren't talking to people, their neighbors across the hall, and are talking to people in different states and across the country and whatnot. But I think right now with social networks, that's kind of a movement back towards people reaching out and communicating with other people. And we have in today's society the wonderful opportunity that you can have friends that you know very well that are states away. And so social networks give you an opportunity to connect with them. Then a game like Farmville, even if you just play it for a few minutes a day, gives you a point of connection with those people, gives you a topic to talk about. Because, if you're in a different state and there's different weather and different news and everything, you still have that point of Farmville, which can be the connection point for you. And, it does come down to if you're not talking to people across the hall, I don't have a judgment on that. Maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe you're just not comfortable. But it does, a game like Farmville on a social network does allow you the opportunity to reach out and have more of a social connection than maybe you'd have otherwise.
Thank you, Mark. And judging by Ben's communication skills, I don't think it's hurt him a bit.
Right. No, I think it's just another avenue. Games and social games and online games are just another avenue to communicate, and it's something I truly believe that it wouldn't exist if people didn't have that sort of innate desire to do so.
And perhaps it's used well to stay connected. It sounds like that's what Ben uses it for.
Definitely. And I would say anytime we're communicating, that's a good thing. Communication is a good thing, whatever form we're doing it in, whether it's virtually or whether it's face-to-face, like right now. And we're talking to Mark and, on the phone.
And perhaps parents could use the game, if they have a child that's rather introverted or not communicative, maybe they could use that to help them learn to talk to the neighbor across the hall.
Definitely. If you can't, it's not as easy to just go out and do that if you're definitely, if you're introverted. So you can get the basics down of communication, and then work your way into a real life experience. Definitely.
Yep. Part of some of the features in the game involve going and visiting, inviting people to be your neighbors, your friends, and then inviting to be your neighbors, and then also going to visit them and help them out on their farms. So it is, in a way, it's kind of a way, if you're talking about people, maybe kids that are introverted, it's an opportunity for them to reach out and maybe just take that first step.
Excellent. I did notice on the website and when I went to the game, one of the things was a call for more neighbors.
Right, yeah.
Another thing was my green farm needs solar panels. So are you having a social consciousness about the environment, Mark? Is that written into the program as well?
That's an opportunity that we have to continue to develop. We know we have a full list of features. So part of the great thing about Farmville and it being on Facebook and an online game is every single week we release new features for it, new items that you can decorate your farm with. And so, things like green and organic crops and, solar panels to help power your farm and everything like that. That's definitely on the plan for the future.
So it's a fresh game every week.
Absolutely.
Excellent, and I think that's a perfect place for the game to go too, with the green and the sustainability aspects, because I think if agriculture is going to stay successful or be a good thing and something that won't take from our world, is we have to go towards sustainability, and that means moving back to the basics. And like 100 years ago, everything was organic anyway.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
So it's going back to that time, and everything was a smaller community-based thing. So I think if we're going to if society is going to how do I want to put this nicely, survive for a long time.
That would be nice.
We have to move towards a simpler way and go towards sustainable things. And I think anything that is going to put that out there is a wonderful thing.
Thanks, Ben. I would like to go on record as saying I think our farmers are so efficient and they produce food economically and safely enough that it allows us time to have a TV show. It allows us time to play Farmville, and it allows us time to be a software developer. Would you agree with that, Mark?
Yeah, that'd be great.
When I went to the website, I found that one of the players had written this. This was a young man by the name of David. David wrote, I was plowing and the next thing I know, a big potato type thing falls out of nowhere and gives me 100 coins. Can you guys talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, that's one of the features that we just added, and it was just one of those little surprises that we wanted to kind of keep the game fresh. And so basically, it was just a little gift that we give players once in a while as they're plowing their fields.
Yeah.
Just a nice coin gift.
Excellent. Like I mean, that's great too. I wish that happened when I went out to plant. Coins drop from the sky.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. No,
How about the big potato? That sounds harmful.
Yeah,
Actually,
that might be a little harmful.
It's actually a gold coin. I guess it didn't show up so well in the game. But that's one of the cool things about making, as we're talking about, kind of viscerally experience a fantasy farm, if you will. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we know players want and they need is not only fresh content, but just new experiences as they're playing the game. And this was one of them.
Wow, this has been very interesting, gentlemen, and we've got about 1 minute left. Very quickly, Ben, what's your avatar look like?
Kind of like me, and it's named Farmer Ben. So.
Farmer Ben. So when you go into the game, you get to create a avatar or a farmer, and it's you can be customized and changed. It's extremely interesting. And Mark, thank you from Minnesota for joining us in San Francisco.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for developing a game which teaches agriculture. That impresses us.
Okay.
And we like that you're doing some things with social values and connecting to people and communicating.
Oh, great. Well, thank you.
Mark, do you have a website where people can go to?
Yeah, you can see Zynga's games at zynga.com, and that's zynga.com. And of course, you can find Farmville just by logging into Facebook and searching for Farmville. Chances are, if you log into Facebook, one of your friends is already playing it, so you just click on the pictures that show up when you're there.
Mark Skaggs from San Francisco, thank you so much. Ben Bickness from Chatfield and now Austin, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks.
Very, very interesting.
Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
For more information, log on to ksmq.org and click on Farm Connections. There you can find past episodes and participate with the blogs where you can submit your ideas. Tune in next time as we continue discussing the impacts of agriculture for all of us. For everyone.
Farm Connect